Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jennifer Collier, Pro Bono Counsel at Fried Frank, and I am so honored to be part of this program today. The first person from the community who reached out to me after I became Pro Bono Counsel was Bill Dean from VOLS. He called me out of the blue, asked me if I would have coffee, and then he told me all about himself and his life and why he ended up being so passionate about VOLS and its mission. I ended up working with VOLS ever since, and we work with VOLS to this day. I'm especially delighted to be introducing Harlene Katzman, Pro Bono Counsel and Director at Simpson Thacher. Harlene has been a leader in the pro bono community from the moment that she joined us and joined Simpson. She's been working passionately in so many different areas, and also in immigration, which is, I think, what her focus has been at VOLS all this time. Harlene, maybe you can describe for us some of your work with VOLS and the firm's work with VOLS.
Sure. Thank you so much for that introduction. Thank you to VOLS for hosting this terrific event and this great panel. Simpson Thacher has been working with VOLS since before my time. I started with the firm in 2008, but our relationship with VOLS goes back probably to the earlier mid-2000s. And we started with the VOLS Children's Project. We were running a clinic, a monthly clinic at Bushwick High School, which at the time was a gigantic high school. It has since been broken up into 4 separate high schools, but you can imagine how big it was. It took up a full city block. It was huge. And we were in there month after month doing a clinic. And that clinic was really to deal with the day-to-day issues that came up for a low-income community, which was the primary group that went to school there. So it was a lot of housing and benefits work. But over the years, as we kept doing the clinic year after year, immigration work became more and more prominent. We saw more and more immigrants who were showing up at the clinic, wanting advice on how they could potentially get status. And so the clinic really shifted for us. So by the time 2012 rolled around and President Obama had signed an executive order creating the DACA program, and DACA is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. It is a temporary form of immigration relief for certain immigrants brought to the United States as children, and it provides 2 years worth of work authorization. By the time DACA came to be in 2012, we had already been counseling, these kids that we call dreamers who wanted to go to college and wanted to work, and they didn't qualify for federal loans because they weren't citizens. And so we had already collected, unbeknownst to us, all of these potential DACA clients by doing this work at Bushwick High School. So we started doing DACA applications in 2012, and we did them every single year. We're doing them to this day. A lot of them are renewals. The initial stop for a period of time over the past 4 years. But we have literally had hundreds of DACA clients, and we did this work hand in hand with VOLS. And I give a lot of credit to Liz Marcucci and Molly Coe, who are former immigration attorneys at VOLS, who really taught me how to do this work and who were instrumental in building this project with us.
That's fantastic. And you and I have worked together on immigration matters over the years. I also run the immigration docket in Fried Frank's pro bono program. And we've discussed the challenges over the years with working with this community, with identifying people in the community who need help, with getting them to trust their lawyers and work with their lawyers, and the myriad of issues. And I wonder if any issues have come up for you in this past year around the pandemic, working with this community.
They have, and we really have talked about this in depth, and I really appreciate having you to talk to about this, Jen. So I filed the notices of appeal for almost every one of our DACA clients, and I've met a lot of them. And there were 2 significant challenges that I really noticed come up over the past year or so. One is many of my DACA clients lost their jobs as a result of the shutdown orders during COVID. And that's because a lot of them were working in the service industry, they were working in restaurants, they just didn't survive that initial shutdown. And a lot of them were working their way through school, through college. Those plans had to be put on hold. A lot of them were, taking care of relatives. I mean, I think it was really hard for that community. The second challenge for the DACA clients, and this was particular to the broader immigration community, I think, was just the extreme fear and paranoia that a lot of our immigrant clients felt from really statements and policies that were made by the prior administration regarding immigration. And I just think it was incredibly stressful for them. So I noticed that as well. And this really brings me to our third panelist. I'm really happy that Adrian Palma has joined us. Adrian is the pro bono coordinator at Akin Gump. And I met Adrian, we have worked together with Akin and with Adrian in the immigration community for a long time. And I have worked with Adrian on some DACA specific projects. And I just recently found out that Adrian is in DACA status. And so I was hoping that he could tell us a little bit about the challenges from his perspective.
Harlene and Jennifer, it is a pleasure and an honor to be on this panel with you. As you so eloquently said, Harlene, there are many challenges that the DACA recipients and the general undocumented youth community have faced over this last year. Unemployment, of course, is one of the biggest, as you mentioned, because of the orders to shut down restaurants and service jobs. I am also I'm a DACA recipient. As a dreamer, as is a term that's heard in the news. I was born in Hidalgo, El Parral, Chihuahua, Mexico, and I immigrated to the United States, to El Paso, Texas, at the age of 6. And Harlene, like you said, fear and paranoia really is a prevalent characteristic that marks the life of undocumented youth and of DACA recipients. Growing up in El Paso, I would drive along the highway, and next to me was a Border Patrol car. My neighbors were Border Patrol agents. There was an instance when I was about to fly to Ithaca, New York, to start my undergraduate career at Cornell University, and TSA and Border Patrol stopped me, and they asked me if I was a U.S. citizen, if I have a U.S. ID. I had to respond no, but at that point I was in risk of deportation. And as a high school student, I wish I would have met someone like you, Harlene, and had known an organization like VOLS that was at my high school to give me instruction and resources on how to overcome the anxiety that really overtook a lot of the big part of my high school years. But with that said, I really have been privileged during the pandemic to be in this role at Akin Gump, to be in a full-time job. I did not lose my job myself. And I learned through this pandemic that I could not waste the time and the resources that I was exposed to through my role at Akin Gump. So for that reason, we began to think of ways that we can and really think of innovative ways that we can remotely help dreamers and the DACA community to expand access to justice and for the community. And it really has been a pleasure to work with you, Harlene, over these last couple months to just identify ways that we could expand pro bono legal services to the broader DACA community in the United States, not just in those markets in which our law firms operate, but in rural areas where DACA applicants and undocumented youth really are living in fear.
Well, I've had so many issues come up this year around remote work and my client community. People don't all have the same access to technology that we are so lucky to have working at law firms, and with the bandwidth and the number of devices that we're all using to work and go to school from home. Some clients can't get on video at all. Some clients can't scan a document. We've been FedExing back and forth, all kinds of problems that we've had. Have you guys been working on a way to really reach out and kind of change the game in working with remote clients?
So Adrian, Tip just had a little bit to tell you what we've been doing. And I'll say that there really were some silver linings to come out of the global pandemic. And I think one of the best was our lawyers' comfort level in providing legal advice in a remote landscape. And so taking our cue from that, our firm has commissioned a custom platform that will allow us to collaborate better with clients when we can't be in the same room, and to partner with some of our billable clients to do this work. And the goal is really so that we can reach more people who are further out in the community, not sitting next to a lawyer, and who really do need these services. Our platform was absolutely inspired by Akin Gump. They did it first. When they pitched it to me and for Simpson Thacher, I was really blown away by the scope that the reach that platform was going to have. And I really do think that it's the future of this type of work. So Adrian, I thank you and your colleagues for that. And I'm very excited to share our platform and get it going.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us and with the larger community, because I hope that we can all follow Simpson and Akin in leveraging these resources to reach out further into the community. And I think, although this has been a really short conversation, I'm sure that everybody watching now understands why Harlene Katzman got a Pro Bono Leadership Award. Congratulations, Harlene.
Thank you so much.